Good afternoon. We are going to resume our council agenda for today, March 15th. Wanted to give the county executive a few extra moments as he's finishing up his press conference announcing his budget, his recommended budget. So we will now move on to item number 6 on the agenda, which is a public hearing. This is a public hearing on a supplemental appropriation for number 2256 to the FY22 operating budget for the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services COVID-19 emergency response in the amount of $69,691,000. Source of funds is county general reserves. A joint government operations and fiscal policy and HHS committee work session is tentatively scheduled for March 24th. Persons wishing to submit additional material for the council's consideration should do so before the close of business on March 18th. We do not have any speakers for this public hearing, and so this public hearing is now closed. That moves us on to item number 7, and this is a public hearing on supplemental appropriation to the county government's FY22 operating budget for Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Services in the amount of $13,900,000 for general personnel and operating costs. Source of funds is undesignated reserves, fire fund reserves. A public safety committee work session is tentatively scheduled for March 21st. Persons wishing to submit additional material for the council's consideration should do so before the close of business today. We do not have any speakers for this public hearing either, and so this public hearing is now closed. That moves us on to item number 8. This is a public hearing on supplemental appropriation to the county government's FY22 capital budget and amendment to the FY21 through 26 CIP in the amount of $602,651 for the Montgomery County Public Schools planned life cycle asset replacement. Source of funds is Aging Schools Program. Action is scheduled for March 22nd. Persons wishing to submit additional material for the council's consideration should do so before the close of business today. We do not have any speakers for this public hearing, and so this public hearing is also now closed. And then finally is item number 9, which is a public hearing and action. And this is a public hearing on a supplemental appropriation to the county government's FY22 operating budget for the Office of the County Executive in the amount of $45,528 to support the establishment of the Office of Grants Management. Source of funds is general fund, undesignated reserves. Action is scheduled immediately following this hearing, and we do not have any speakers for this public hearing either, and so this public hearing is now closed. Can I get a motion to accept the recommended $45,528? So moved by Councilmember Friedson, seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And that is unanimous among all those present. Terrific. So that takes us to item number 10, which is a presentation. I'm going to give a little bit of background and context on this and then turn it over to the chair of our Fed committee, Chairman Reamer, to make some comments as well. But the county executive recently presented, as he does annually, regarding economic development opportunities and the status of economic development and growth in Montgomery County. And I was particularly impressed by a presentation that was given by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. We so appreciate their leadership regionally, and I also want to appreciate Councilmember Navarro, who has done an outstanding job representing this body in a significant leadership capacity and our entire region. And all of us serve on respective committees through COG, but this particular presentation gave a very in-depth analysis of the current workforce development and economic opportunities and challenges as a region. And while we are understandably focusing very much on what we need to do here in Montgomery County, having a broader sense of the picture of our entire region is very important. And so for both the opportunity to get that picture, but then have a discussion, we've invited Mr. Paul DeSargent, the Director of Community Planning and Services from COG, here today. So thank you very much, Paul. Paul's the name of my son, so it's a great name. Before I turn it over to you, though, Paul, I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Reamer and then Anybody else who would like to speak? Chairman Reamer.
All right. Thank you so much, Council President Albornoz, for convening the session. And Mr. Desjardins, it's great to see you again. Thank you for being here. Really a big fan of your work at COG. You've been really a important strategic resource for this whole region and for Montgomery County over the years. It's an important conversation for us to stay focused on the economic progress of our region and of our county. And there's a lot to get our heads around. I often observe that, first of all, from a regional perspective, the regional economy has changed profoundly over the last 30 years. And you can see the impact of those changes when you go to Dulles Airport. Today, you go out there, and along the way, you'll see almost countless office buildings with corporate logos that, many years ago, many of those would have been in Montgomery County. And the entire economic center of the region has shifted. And there's a lot of reasons for that that we need to understand, but also we need to grapple with. And so Montgomery County is feeling the effect of that. On the positive side, our county is experiencing a significant increase of spending and investment in life sciences, and that is a very positive force for us. We need to understand it in context. It is not increasing at the same rate as other life science markets around the country, but it is increasing all the same. And we need to take advantage of this generational opportunity here and get some things right. And that will be policies in the areas of housing and of transportation and of workforce and taxes and all of these things together that can contribute to creating a positive economic environment where the private sector wants to invest and grow. But we got a long ways to go, and you'll see in this presentation our total employment in the county is lower than it was 6 years ago. There are some significant issues that affect our sustainability as a community. And as a parent of 2 kids, I want my kids to be able to live in Montgomery County one day, if they want to. And that means they got to have access to great jobs and great housing. And I think as a housing shortage community, without the strongest job creation environment, we got to think differently about what we're doing. So without any further ado, I'll turn it back to the Council President, and we'll see what's in this report for us.
Thank you, Chairman Reamer. Chair of our Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee and COG Board Member, Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Mr. Desjardins. It's so good to see you here. I was saying in person because I didn't get a chance to attend COG in person last time. So here we are. This is our first time back. And I think it is really appropriate to have you here to share thoughts and reflections as well as the data regarding our economic growth regionally. I have to say that as someone who has been a member of the board of COG and now president of the corporate board, I have been so pleased with COG's work, strategic direction, and very specific and strategic support and guidance for the different jurisdictions. And it is great to be in that space talking regionally, but it's also been really heartwarming to see how every jurisdiction has gone back to their respective localities and adopted many of the standards, the resolutions, the target goals in areas of housing or in areas of transportation. And most recently, the focus on racial equity and social justice has been embedded in everything that COG has done. And so it is a really awesome, I think, body and an organization that provides that kind of extraordinary guidance, but also just results. It's not just about studies. It's not just about meetings. It's not just about convening. It's about seeing its effect. And as Councilmember Reamer just noted, for us here in Montgomery County, this council in particular has been, I would say, almost like major activist in this space of economic development, especially in this last 3 years. And that's because we have recognized that it takes that type of leadership. It's all hands on deck. And so I just wanted to, number one, thank you for coming over, but really once again acknowledge the extraordinary work of COG, its staff, but also all the members of the board and the different committees for coming together, and especially during this pandemic, to put into practice and share best practices. But now really is the work to see how we can boost this notion of economic sufficiency and development in every single corner of our region. So again, thank you so much, Mr. President. Pass it back to you.
Thank you. Mr. Desjardins, I'll turn it over to you to walk us through your presentation.
Thank you. And can everyone hear me well? Should
Yes.
roll a little bit. Well, thank you very much for the incredibly warm welcome. And so very, very pleased to be here and see a number of very familiar faces and the tremendous support that the county gives to COG. I think it's probably been 3 years since I've been here. I would really congratulate you all. As Ms. Navarro said, we had the board of directors meeting of COG last week for the first time in person. It felt almost sort of strange because it really was almost 2 years to the day. I'm the father of at least one still college-age child, and I leaned into one of my coworkers 2 years ago and said, Boston University has said they're going to shut down in the fall. And he leaned into me and said, that's crazy. Why are they being so presumptuous and jumping ahead so much? But it's hard to believe we are where we are, and it's just so very, very good to see you all here again in person. Related to that, I also would like to give a shout out, again, thank you all for supporting so many of our different committees. I also want to give a shout out to an alum. Dr. Gales was the chair of our Health Officials Committee and had the pleasure of working with him on their monthly meetings. Tremendous man. I would say a hero for this region, and it was just an amazing pleasure to work with him now that we are sort of moving out of the pandemic, at least hopefully for good this time. So. Again, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The reason I'm here, I am part of the business advisory panel that the county executive convenes. I think I've been a part of those conversations for about 10 years now. And again, I was pleased to at least share some of what you'll be hearing today to give that regional context of where things are going. So again, thank you very much. I'll go through and hopefully we'll have some time for some questions to give some good ideas for you all. All right. First slide. Again, not a shock to anyone here. This is the charts comparing COVID cases and fatalities, a tremendous spike that we saw at the end of calendar year 2021, and now that tremendous drop-off where we are now, where we can, in fact, begin to see one another face to face. Still very, very optimistic that things will continue that way. Next slide, please. How did COVID impact the region? This is a slide looking at the last 2 years, almost 2.5 years, if you will, of employment data in the region. Now, call your attention to that drop March and April of 2020. It was literally like we had the floor pulled out from underneath us. We lost more than 370,000 jobs, an 11% drop in employment in 1 month. It's unprecedented in this region's history. You can see we are growing. We are continuing to add jobs. As of December, a little over 3 months ago, we're back at about 90% of where we were, and I'll talk a little bit about some of those structural changes that have occurred. Next slide, please. Compared to other regions, we actually fared fairly well. This is a chart that looks at the 10 major metropolitan areas of the country. We're that sort of light green bar to the left. We lost, as I said, almost 371,000 jobs. But I call your attention to the right-hand side. Chicago lost more than 500,000 jobs. LA, nearly 1 million jobs. And then New York City, or New York metropolitan area rather, almost 2 million jobs in that 1 month period. So by comparison, we were somewhat shielded, fared somewhat better than many of our peers. Next slide, please. But this change and these losses weren't without focus. This is a comparison looking May of 2020 versus May of 2019 for all the major job sectors across the region. Literally every job sector in the region lost jobs during that period. Call your attention particularly to leisure and hospitality, restaurants, accommodation, and food services, and also retail trade in that category of transportation and utilities. Tremendous losses in both of those categories. We had a conversation at the Region Forward Coalition back in January. We brought in some labor leaders to talk about the ongoing structural challenges that folks in those sectors are experiencing. Now, one little blip at the top. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Gene. The other thing I would point out, educational and health services, that was not schools, that was daycare centers, child care and daycare centers that shut down. So that 46,000, I'm sorry, almost 50,000 loss in educational and health services. Okay, next slide. Now, looking ahead, compared May of 2020 through the most recent period, December of 2021, we've seen job growth in literally every sector. But again, we are only at about 90% of where we were. I'd call your attention again to the leisure and hospitality sectors and retail and trade compared to where they were almost 3 years ago. Next slide, please. This is one slide that does focus specifically on the county. Again, this is the 6-year trend in employment ending in calendar year 2021. You will see that the county lost about 34,000 jobs at the height of the pandemic. That's only about a 6.9% drop in employment compared to about 11% for the region as a whole. So on the whole, the county fared fairly well. Jobs have returned. The county is at about 95% of where the jobs were in 2019. But again, as a region as a whole, we are still struggling to really regain our footing, I would say. Next slide, please. Again, compared to other metropolitan areas across the country, the same 10 major metropolitan areas were the green bar. Only Atlanta and Dallas, as of December 2021, had actually regained more jobs than they had lost going into the pandemic. But again, you can see the relative shares were at 90%. New York is still only at about 76% of recovery for the jobs that they had lost during the pandemic. Next slide, please. The parallel to that, obviously, is the region's unemployment rate. You can see that massive spike. Unemployment basically tripled in that first month. It has since recovered. Traditionally, our unemployment rate has been about a point or two below the national average. Our job growth rate traditionally has been about a point or two above the national average. And what you can see is throughout the pandemic, national and local rates did decline. They essentially converged, and we're back to about where we were pre-pandemic. But again, it's been a long and slow recovery, but we are gaining traction. Next slide, please. Turning to a couple of other indicators, this is looking at some transportation trends. This is freeway volumes on the left side during the year 2020 through 2021, and then on the right-hand side from March of 21 through the end of the calendar year. So on the left-hand side, as the pandemic unfolded compared to 2019, freeway volumes were about half what they were in April of 2020 compared to what they had been the prior year. On the right-hand side, going through the end of November, rolling into the holidays, freeway traffic volumes were almost back up to about 95% of where they had been prior to pandemic. So we are seeing people returning to the highways, which is both good and bad on a number of levels. Next slide, please. The companion to that, of course, is public transportation, just focusing specifically on Metro Bus and Metro Rail. Metro Bus, the orange line on the top, is back at about 83% of where service had been, or I'm sorry, ridership rather had been rolling into the pandemic. There were many efforts early on to keep buses riding, particularly for workers who were so dependent on transit for reaching their place of work. So that's a success. Metro Rail, the blue line that you see below, is really only back at about a third of the ridership prior to pandemic. Again, as things begin to reopen, would expect that would increase, but it's still a bit uncertain to see just what the curve for that might be. Next slide, please. This slide is a little bit dated. It's from last spring, but it really is to draw attention to what we all know. We have an incredibly tight, incredibly challenging housing market. This is looking at data for the last 10 years, going really through the beginning of the summer last year. That last bar, May or so of 2021, more than a 16% increase year over year, or month over year rather, in home sales prices, average home sales price. Just incredible. Next slide, please. And that really dovetails, Ms. Navarro mentioned our housing targets, the work from 3 years ago. This is a slide that we have shared on a number of occasions that looks at housing production. That red line on the top is the target, if you will, for the number of housing units that we as a region agreed we would want to produce in order to balance jobs for the number of workers that we believe the region continues to attract and produce. The blue line below is what we are actually producing as measured by residential permits. It's quite a bit lower, about 23,000 units per year versus the 32,000 target that we set for 2030. And so every year that we fail to meet that 32,000 target means for every successive year we would need to produce more housing units. So the challenge really exists and I would argue continues to grow. Next slide, please. Again, looking at our 10 companion major metropolitan areas, where the green bar that you see sort of to the center left, we are nowhere near the level of permitting activity of, say, Houston and Dallas, which have tremendously expansive regions. But even we are producing fewer units than New York City, which is arguably a more mature, more comparable region in some dimensions. Next slide, please. There is one bright spot, and we continue to track, and there is a hypertext link in the report, or I'm sorry, in the presentation to the report and in the map next that will direct you to the report. This is looking at the last 30 years of multifamily construction. It's a sector that has continued to grow, as you see clearly, over the last 30 years. But I'd call your attention to a couple of trends. The orange portion of each of those bars, the one bedroom, and the purple, the two bedrooms, particularly in the last few years, even the blue, the studio apartments are becoming more predominant in terms of production, the number of units. So we're producing multifamily units, but producing fairly small units. I shaded this slide a little bit. You can probably see slightly in 1996 and a couple of other years, those rare occasions when we produced 4-bedroom multifamily units. So again, looking across the spectrum of types of structures and where things are going. Next slide, please. I mentioned there is a very positive sign for this. COG has set very specific targets of where we believe residential growth should go, our activity centers, our high-capacity transit station areas. What you're looking at here, the red dots, each one of those dots represents 20 multifamily units. So you can see tremendous concentrations in the district, a number of units being created in North Bethesda, just below Rockville, scattered throughout the region. But the good news, in the year 2020, 90% of all those new multifamily units, fully 90% of the 14,000 that we produced that year, are arguably where we would want them to be, near high-capacity transit stations in our activity center. So that is a good goal. And that compares to what you see in the sort of beige tones, the base, where we really previously only were putting about 60% of the multifamily units in those areas, the history, the base, if you will. So a positive sign, if you will. Next slide, please. The companion to residential construction, obviously, is commercial construction. We've tracked construction at the Council of Governments since the early 80s. I think our peak year of 1987, we produced about 40 million square feet of commercial space region-wide. It's just off to the left of this chart. Again, the colors representing the different types of structures. I'd call your attention again in the sort of 2001 period, the purple, the predominance of office as the predominant type of construction being built in this region. And then as you move along to the right to more recent years, how the shares of construction have actually changed. That other is a whole host of things. It's warehouse space to some degree, that's captured also in the industrial, but that other also captures things like data centers and laboratories and new emerging types of structures to meet our employment needs. Next slide, please. Again, this is a map that shows where the construction has been and more recently where it was constructed. The red circles show by size the amount of space for any individual project in the year 2020. Again, the good news is we saw commercial construction throughout the region. There's the hypertext link at the bottom to the report on the web where you can see the full detail, all the tables for all the jurisdictions throughout the region. Next slide, please. Not only do we track construction, we also track how the space is being used. And so using CoStar data, we've been monitoring for many years, and what we're looking at here is the last 3 years of retail vacancy rate. Retail is changing. I don't know your household, but my household has become very enamored of Mr. Bezos and just-in-time and immediate delivery, but has impacts on the form and footprint of retail space. Retail vacancy, the darker green bar at the bottom for each of those groupings for Northern Virginia, suburban Maryland, and the district, it increased throughout the pandemic, with the district having the highest rate of retail vacancy rate at about 6.5%. Next slide. Companion to that, obviously, is office space, the same time period, 3 years, color-coded for those bars. Office vacancy rates did increase throughout the pandemic. They actually increased more sharply going into the second year. Northern Virginia actually is experiencing the highest office vacancy rate at just a hair under 17% office vacancy in Northern Virginia. Next slide, please. Something we've also been tracking, we have an interdepartmental, interdisciplinary series of indicators we track. This is an interesting one that comes from one of our local businesses. Castle Systems, based in Arlington, is a business that provides office security. So the security cards that you'd swipe at a turnstile or at a door to go into a building. And what you're looking at here is the last sort of 15, 16, 18 months, if you will, of data for those office swipes, those card swipes. The blue line is for the nation as a whole. The red line is for our region. I'm sorry, when I say the nation, it's the 10 major markets in which Castle actually has a presence. Again, I call your attention, we saw the massive drop-off. We're seeing recovery going into the fall, people returning to the office. Omicron hit, plunged, vacancy rates increased dramatically into the holidays. Now we're seeing recovery returning. We're at about 35% now. A little over 1 out of every 3 people is back in their office, if you will, as measured here. But we are, again, about 1 or 2 points below the average of all 10 of those markets. And in rank ordering, we have been 3rd or 4th from the bottom. Houston, Dallas, Austin have been leading when it comes to workers returning to office for many months now, rather. Next slide, please. I bring that up in the context of this chart. Over the next 4 years, there's approximately 44 million square feet of commercial office space leases that are coming up for renewal. The bars show you by year and by class type. Again, A and B are the predominant structure types that are coming up for renewal. I would pose, and my team and I are continuing to monitor this for a number of reasons. One, I think, given the uncertainties about return to office, what will be the demand for space going forward? What will a tenant ask for? What sort of premiums? Will they want a smaller footprint? What sort of rental rates will they be looking at? So I think important considerations and not an insignificant universe, if you will, of space out there that we would want to continue to monitor. Next slide, please. And the corollary to that, this was from our Transportation Planning Board, a survey last year, Voices of the Region. That left-hand read the largest portion of the pie. About 2/3 of every worker, 65% of the people who responded said, I would like to telework sometime. A little more than a quarter said, no, I really want to telework full-time. But less than 10%, only about 1 out of every 11 people said, no, I really, really want to return to the office full-time. So again, a little bit of a snapshot, if you will, into the thoughts of workers around the region. Next slide, please. Be wrapping up here in the next couple minutes. This last slide here shows, this is a survey from George Mason University and the Fuller Institute, simply shows preferences by different age cohorts of workers. Really call your attention to that second bar. Younger workers, 18 to 29-year-olds among all age groups are the most interested in always returning to the office. There's a whole host of reasons for that. Early stages of your career, the opportunity to socialize, to potentially meet your partner, your spouse, but very encouraging that they truly, truly do predominantly want to be back in the office. Next slide, please. Then the companion, again, I talked about the real estate markets and our need for more housing. This is simply a snapshot from last year about homeowners who chose to move and what were their reasons. The dark blue bars are all the homeowners who made purchases and moves. The yellow bars are people who did it specifically because of the pandemic. Of course, the first two, crime and schools, are always major, major considerations for homeowners. But not too shockingly, you look to the far right, particularly the more space concerns. People at the height of pandemic, families, people with children, literally just wanted more space. If you just wanted to be out, access to outdoors, or just space in your own dwelling, your own home. Okay, next slide. So wrapping up here, just call your attention. I don't have slides on this. There's a lot of data points, but I would just say these are some of the major trends that really do bear watching over the next year. Obviously, inflation. When this was coming together, when I was talking with my colleague, Dr. Clower, some of these points, we didn't anticipate a number of the things on here, specifically the current situation globally. But federal spending, what will be the intention of the administration for infrastructure spending and other opportunities like that? On the right-hand side of that column, this is something that we continue to talk about at COG, is talent attraction and retention. Again, with the high housing costs, our ability to provide housing for young, struggling families, for workers who face a whole host of challenges, and our ability to adapt to that and be, in fact, more supportive. So that is it. There's an arrow there on the bottom. I have to put in a plug for some new initiatives at COG, our Metropolitan Planning Framework, which really does focus on linking housing, high-capacity transit, climate change, and equity, all under one rubric, one planning framework, if you will. And so that's that link there on the bottom. When you have a moment, we really would call that to your attention. So that is all I have. Be happy to answer questions as best I can. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. It just reiterated why I found your presentation so fascinating the first time I heard it, and even more bells have gone off, both alarm and positive, just with where we are. And this is the perfect context. Of course, today the county executive has released his budget, and it is a, let's just say, very aggressive budget and expanding programs and services in a number of areas. But that last slide, those indicators that we have to bear in mind, and the number of leases that are coming up in the not too distant future are sobering reminders that we have to be cautious and invest in those areas, particularly with regards to housing, so we don't miss out on the opportunity costs that we're feeling right now. And when you look at the growth in Texas as an example, as compared to our region, it is something to absolutely keep an eye on. So I've got a couple of colleagues in the queue. We will start with Councilmember Katz, followed by Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you very much, Mr. Desjardins. It really is very interesting and thought-provoking. One of the things that was not on there, and I don't think I missed it, but was about the new start of businesses, especially small businesses. Do you have statistics for that?
Don't have them handy at my fingertips. I can get you some information on that. That is, to your larger point, which I think I may anticipate, they really are the lifeblood of growing the economy, if you will.
That was my larger point. Absolutely. So if you could just tell me the number for tomorrow, I'll play that as well. I appreciate that. When you're, I think it was slides 7 and 8. Mm-hmm. If you could go back to that, I think that my numbers are right. And that doesn't mean that they are, but it was talking about new housing and rental housing. Is that? No? Yes. Do you have any idea for how much the rentals are?
So interestingly enough, there's a table, and I apologize, I did not bring it with me, but there's a table in the report, and I can provide that to you all, that shows inflation-adjusted dollars, what the different rents are. Interestingly enough, rents in inflation-adjusted dollars, as I recall, have not grown dramatically. But again, I'm anticipating your larger question.
You're good.
The rents by unit type and location, because a location is a premium, are much higher.
And I don't remember what slide number, but when the vacancy rate for office and it was the one that had the and other, whatever slide number that was. Yeah, on that one, do you know, and I guess it eventually would catch up, but do you know how many people who are occupying are actually paying their rent?
My understanding, and every report I've read in the Business Journal, the Post, the Times, whatever, is most In our region, most tenants are current in their leases, with the exception of very specific sectors like restaurants, small
Right.
retailers. But by and large, traditional white-collar offices, very current in their leases. And I think that leads into that question of going forward when they do the calculus of, well, how much space will I need going forward?
And my final question for the moment, but on the occupancy rate for offices, is that the people, didn't want to telework and now are, et cetera, is that for 100% of the time, or is it if someone is going back 3 days a week and, you can anticipate my question, go ahead, yeah.
So a person going back 3 days a week would say, okay, I'm in that sort of 66, 65% of the time I would want to be back in the office, because 2/3, 65%, that's about 3, 4, 5 days out of the 5-day work week. But that survey was just that, is given a traditional work week, how much would you really, really want to be back in the office? And it looks like 2 to 3 days, with 3 days being more the norm.
Thank you very much. I yield back. Thank you for your presentation. I yield back to you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you. Good to see you, Paul.
Good to see you, sir.
Outside of a box. I enjoy working with you and your team at COG. I want to share my colleagues' praise of the work that you all do to keeping us organized, and I know it's not easy. So really interesting information. I'm glad to hear. I'll pick up where Councilmember Katz left off. I am certainly in the 2/3 of not wanting to be back in the office every day. So anyone out there, you're in good company. And in fact, in our office, we've moved to just kind of naturally, I think, where I'm finding more and more the norm is that we're working 3 days in the office and 2 days remote. And that's just our policy in the office. And I can tell by the smiles from my staff that they appreciate it. Do you have what was that study based on? And who did you look at? What was that was the region, and what was the sample? Where would you pull that? Where is that information?
So the information, it was collected by our Transportation Planning Board staff, and it was a survey they did called Voices of the Region. The exact number, the exact sample size escapes me, but it was several thousand respondents. But it was just to answer that very specific question and a number of other transportation questions.
Appreciate it. Obviously, the ramifications of that could be huge depending on how that holds and what that means for trips. Councilman Reamer and I were just talking offline about this. Where do people go? Are they staying home? Are we building complete communities so that trips can be shorter and we're actually taking cars off the road and not just substituting it for longer trips not related to travel or office travel? But obviously a lot there and something we'll need to watch at COG and here as well.
Absolutely.
The job growth numbers from 2016 to 2019, that slide, we often hear that, everything's horrible and the sky's falling here. It bothers me that's often the refrain. But when you look at this chart, job growth actually was heading up and this is specifically to Montgomery County since 2016 through 2019 till the pandemic hit. Obviously, this is a mix of both private sector and governmental jobs, I'm assuming. Yeah. And do you have you may not have it with you, but I'd love to see the breakdown by sector.
Sure.
Private, government, nonprofit, what it is. One of the things we always make a point of job's a job, and the growth, we want growth everywhere. We want growth in the federal government because it helps people and we have great federal labs and things. We want growth in the private sector. We want growth in the nonprofit sector as well. So I think it's just an important trend to note that while we can always do better, things were heading upward as a trajectory. Any comment on any of that?
I think without question, COVID was a massive reset. So I think we are all regionally and locally still struggling with when do we get back to sort of an equilibrium. In that regard, I've sort of posited with my coworkers, well, maybe 6 months or so from now, we'll actually see sort of what is the new normal. And you might say, well, why is that? So we're rolling into the spring. We have spring break now. Then we're going to start rolling into the summer, and schools will be out, and families will be, sort of rethinking vacation schedules and time off. But I think it will be really instructive to see sort of the October timeframe when school literally is back in session, and how much more comfortable workers and individuals are with being back in that, the truly dynamic situation of face-to-face. So I think look to sort of the early part of the fall, sort of the October timeframe, to see where the real new normal is. We're still sort of living through the end, if you will.
Appreciate that. Interesting. Northern Virginia, highest vacancy rates for commercial?
Several submarkets. This is data from CoStar. I don't have it at my fingertips, but yeah, you can pull up individual neighborhoods, if you will, commercial real estate submarkets. There's some parts of Northern Virginia that have really struggled. Parts of Crystal City that is now National Landing will, of course, benefit from the presence of Amazon HQ2, but there is a tremendous amount of space there that needs to be backfilled post-BRAC. BRAC was 2005. I had the study then when we lost so many workers that moved out. So individual markets are still struggling.
Overall down, but that was, and again, another thing, we're going to have to figure out the equilibrium there of what that is and
Exactly.
how that works out. Last two questions here. The businesses that have disappeared, did you track businesses of color? We were talking about that this morning. Women-owned businesses of color. Is that in the data, and are you able to pull that out? We're trying to study it here on the council side, but I'm just curious if COG has that data.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is not in the data that we studied. We were looking very, very top level of the major sectors. I think there are probably labor force statistics that are available that definitely look at individuals from their place of residence by race and ethnicity, where their current employment situation is. But we've very high level.
I'll bring it up in Region Forward as vice chair. It was maybe something we can look in at the region. We brought up this morning 40% of the black businesses disappeared in 2020 in the segment. I think it's really important, to Councilmember Katz's point and others, that we track that, even the deeper data there, and make investments as well. So last question, the housing costs, obviously through the roof, and we don't have enough supply. That one chart you put up is, a stunning reminder of that we do need to build more housing. I have a question. Is there anywhere, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there anywhere that you've seen in other markets in the nation where the supply has kept up with the demand of housing?
It's a good question. It's a tough question. I think there's a couple of complicated answers to that. I think many of our peer regions still struggle with this issue. And how it came to be the forefront for us was when we were in the throes of the HQ2 competition. And the site location staff for that said, you're not the Bay Area, you're not Boston, you're not LA, but you really do need to get a handle on this affordability challenge, because it really can be an impediment to your economic development. So if the good news is we are among good peers, if you will.
Right.
They've done, my partial answer to your question too is it's a whole host of different opportunities to lean in for solutions. We're having a conversation, for example, this Friday, the planning director is talking about accessory dwelling units, but that's something that more and more jurisdictions are coming to adopt as a tool, given that we're a very, very mature region. I like to say, we talk about our 2045 forecast. Well, 80% of 2045 is already on the ground right now.
Right.
We are a very, very mature region.
I appreciate that. And you, well, I was fishing and you gave me what I got my hook in, is that we need a lot of solutions, right? There's no one thing that's going to do it. Some of it's going to be incentivizing different housing types and allowing, like smaller units. We've taken action with ADUs on the Fed committee with Councilman Reamer, and attainable housing, other types of units. But we're also going to need to protect current affordable housing and make sure renters have protections and know how much their rent's going up. And we're going to need to do a whole range of things. So we need to purchase and develop public land. But I look forward to working with you on COG on that. And good to know we're in the peer jurisdictions, but we're all trying to figure this out together. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for that presentation, Paul. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. So, after the recession of the sort of, I think it was 2008, 9, 10, 11, really, many of us, of course, had to, retool and figure out what would be the best way forward, what kind of initiatives focus, what kind of, priorities, et cetera, did we need to adopt. So from your perspective, where we are now, I mean, this was just so unprecedented. And I think this presentation is giving us, pieces, and it's a snapshot in time, pieces of things that perhaps some of it are going to bounce back to pre-pandemic levels. Some of these things may not, because they're no longer relevant for the behavior and the desires or the priorities of our residents. And so given that this in some way is going to be a transition year, obviously, because it was on their midterm elections, what do you see, just generally speaking, as some 3 to 4 priorities that leaders should be absolutely thinking about, perhaps examining more closely as ways to address what has become a complete new landscape regionally, but also for us here in Montgomery County? I mean, we here are not shy about looking at best practices, learning from other, jurisdictions, doing all of the above. I mean, you name it, we've done it. Now looking at this moment in time and looking, let's say, into the next 4 years, what would you say would be some interesting next steps that we can leverage, that we can capitalize on to take the county, to the level where it should be?
Sure, Ms. Navarro, that's a very, very good question. Let's see, how much time do I have?
Yeah.
A couple things really come to mind, and again, thank you for putting the chart up. Housing is a critical one, and it is to supply housing for the workers we have here now, for our children. I have children in their 20s who want to come back here. It is both an impediment, but it's also an economic development opportunity. So more housing in the right places, near high-capacity transit and activity centers, places that have been well planned to support housing. But it's hard, and it's expensive, it's difficult. When the planning directors went down that path, there's economic costs, there's challenges, and there's the community dynamics of more growth and more infill, which are always challenges. But again, housing linked to transportation also is an economic development opportunity. And then lastly, and this is more just an observation, and it's not a shock to anyone here, when I was in graduate school, my advisor was an economic development director. And he had this little catchphrase, which is, you got to grow your own. I mean, that was, that really is the chambers know it, the economic development staffs know it. It's everything that can be done to foster, and it's back to Mr. Katz's question, fostering growth in the strengths of the existing economy, life sciences, biotech, everything that are the fundamentals to this county, and also helping support just small business all across the gamut.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that it's aligned with a lot of what we have worked towards, our economic development platform, the new strategic plan for economic development, the work that the Fed committee has taken on that has not been easy, as well as our racial equity and social justice law, because it is all about framing racial equity and social justice from that perspective of abundance and economic growth. These types of efforts around equity are not about just putting forth more and more just social services. It's about creating those opportunities, those jobs, access to those jobs, preparing people to access those jobs, especially in a county like ours, because you look at the demographics, and obviously this also has to be part of what we're doing going forward. It's all just connected in that way. So again, this is why I have found it so rewarding to be part of COG, because it is looking at it holistically, and then drilling down to the micro level to see what we can do to implement all of that. And I think that if we continue on that path, obviously we were derailed somewhat with the pandemic, but if we continue on that path and also articulate this to our residents, because as you said, it's never easy, especially when it comes to issues of housing and zoning and things of that nature. But I think overall people do I think they do understand, and I think the pandemic has shown that as well. When our young people came back, do understand that we have to create those conditions here in the county so that it can serve as a place where young professionals can also come and live here and afford to live here and have high quality of life. So great, appreciate that answer.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I've got Councilmember Reamer, followed by Vice President Glass, then Councilmember Hooker. Councilmember Reamer.
Thank you so much. We're definitely going to be in a stage of economic recovery for some time. I think multiple years. It's an interesting and very complicated story what's going on out there. We have a lot of people who through COVID have made more money than before. Their investments, Wall Street has been returning tremendous results for them, and they have higher income than ever. And we're seeing that in our budget right now with our income tax receipts at historic highs. At the same time, there are many people, probably disproportionately small business owners or employees, who just haven't recovered. Their businesses just haven't recovered. And through it all, the county's losses, according to regional data, were steeper than other jurisdictions in the region, and our recovery has been slower than other jurisdictions in the region. So, we need to be very attentive to economic recovery, as Councilmember Navarro was saying, and others have been saying, that in the coming couple of years, it's a general matter, but in the coming couple of years, there's just going to be a lot of people who need a stronger business environment, who will need other kinds of supports from the county through their business decisions. So, generally speaking, it's a tough time out there for many. It's a okay time out there for many others, but it's still a tough time out there for many. I want to thank you again for the housing work. I think that has been enormously valuable for the region. And what are the plans for the next couple of years on the regional housing strategy?
So a couple of things. About 6 months ago, we announced we were the beneficiaries of a small grant program from Amazon called the Housing Affordability Planning Program. So they'll be competitively awarded. The due date is March 23rd, so a little over a week from now. Forgot my dates. So we're hoping to work again with Amazon strategically on some of those opportunities, both to preserve and increase the supply of affordably priced housing in those strategic locations near high-capacity transit stations. Again, the priorities that we've talked about before. We've had conversations with a number of our strategic partners. WMATA has a joint development branch that's now headed by a former ULI Washington leader. They recognize the need to capitalize on the real estate around the metro rail station. So we're having some really encouraging conversations with them on that. We're wrapping up later this year. We had a meeting this morning of our fair housing work that is looking at a regional analysis of impediments to fair housing. So the results of that work will come forward. Actually, local recommendations will come forward to the council probably later this spring. The regional recommendations are done now, but the recommendations that the consultant team has proffered would be later this spring. So leaning in a number of different areas, as I said, bringing a roundtable discussion, if you will, about ADUs this Friday at the planning directors. But all that having been said, it's not enough. It's going to take a lot more. I mean, that will help, but it's around the edges.
It's making a big difference. I think it was helpful to us in our policy conversations here. We talked about it a lot when we took on the moratorium. For example, we lifted the moratorium as I think it was singled out actually as an example of housing policies in the region that need to change, and we took action. We changed it. And we appreciate that. I wanted to note, as you just observed, one of the impacts, I think, of the work has been Amazon seeing a need to be a regional partner and coming forward with an investment strategy, particularly working with Metro, to fund affordable housing. So actually, they just announced yesterday, I think, or maybe it's today, that Amazon is today, that they are investing a considerable amount of money in new housing on 2 metro stations in Prince George's County. And they had previously announced that they were looking to partner with the development in Grosvenor in Montgomery County. And we very much want to see that happen. We would like to see Amazon have the opportunity to invest in affordable housing at more metro stations in Montgomery County. But there are no other metro stations in Montgomery County that are presently under development, which is something we have tried to address with the tax incentive that we have adopted at this council to make it more affordable to develop on Metro's property, which is inordinately expensive. But, again, that's an important one for us, and it's an important one for the region. You're here letting us know that from a regional perspective, getting more housing on Metro is a significant regional benefit. And we are seeing some progress with Amazon's partnerships, significant investments in housing in Prince George's. We'd like to see Montgomery County also succeed with that. And there's some very relevant issues right now at the county council that will have a big impact on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Glass, followed by Councilmember Hucker, and then Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good to see you, Mr. Desjardins.
Good to see you, sir.
I'm glad I plugged in where I did because I appreciate everybody's comments, and especially Councilmember Jawando helping frame fact versus fiction in some regards. I appreciate the pontification question that Ms. Navarro asked, and then Councilmember Reamer just also talked about the region as a whole. And combining all of that and adding to it the fact that you said we need to grow our own, right? A core tenet of economic development. How can we as a region, and how can COG as its function, provide a roadmap for regional cooperation to achieve what we need? Now, everything, the data that was shared clearly breaks it down by jurisdiction. And we have even more data about Montgomery County and about the different parts of Montgomery County, recognizing there are differences even therein. But taking a step back and looking at the DC region as a whole, how do we grow our own as the metropolitan Washington area? And if you feel comfortable sharing, what do we need to do better in terms of jurisdictional cooperation?
It's a very good question. I don't know that I have the exact answer.
That's why I prefaced the caution.
Yeah, sure. So again, I mean, the idea of sort of growing your own, it's everything within our existing toolbox to support small businesses, any business that exists here now for their expansion. The corollary to what I talked about with the office space demand, it's also office space utilization. It's not just how much are people going to be going back into the office, how much space are they going to need? Because if you're hot seating and only a third of your staff is coming in, then you start getting into sort of form and function types of conversation. So having that sort of flexibility to work with employers to support their needs and on so many different levels. There's an initiative that goes to the heart of different occupations and really the young workers coming forward. There's an organization called Connected DMV, and they have an initiative called Nextversity in which they're partnering with the community colleges specifically to target young people, people of color who are high school seniors going into junior colleges and community colleges to give them the skill sets to become and thrive as young workers going into the workforce. And I think that is something I would point to from a labor force perspective to say there is such a tremendous opportunity here to help grow so many brilliant young people that can grow businesses in whatever field, but that's a support and an enhancement that they are working on. Cooperation, again, we've proffered at COG, and we can suggest things like the initiatives from the planning directors and the housing directors. Can't really compel folks to do anything, but I think we're having the right conversations. And back to what Mr. Jawando said, at Region Forward, where we do bring together perspective, from economic development, from public health, from housing. What will it take for us to partner together? We are bringing together strategic partners, again, in housing to say, okay, we get it. What's it really going to take? And that's why I said we don't have the answer right now, but people are really coming to the moment of saying, it's within our grasp to solve some of these things.
I appreciate that, and the mere fact that you're here, and I can only presume other jurisdictions are inviting, or maybe it's part of a concerted effort by COG to go to the different bodies and have similar presentations. We are the Montgomery County Council, so we're tasked with making sure Montgomery County itself has everything it needs to thrive and grow. But we do not live in a bubble. We are part of the DMV, and we want the region to grow as well. And so sometimes there is that tussle. And as someone who serves on the Transportation Planning Board, there's, where the rubber hits the road, literally and figuratively, sometimes there are disagreements. But as long as we keep having these conversations and you all keep providing us with information that is valuable to us, our residents, our business owners, then we can make informed decisions that will help everybody, including the region. So I appreciate you coming here and sharing this information with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Hucker, followed by Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Paul, great to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
I really always, I don't get to say it often enough, I really appreciate all the hard work of you and your team. It's really, today's just the latest demonstration of how invaluable the work of COG is to really all of us. And I wish we had a chance to see you more often. Colleagues asked a lot of the questions I had, but I have a few remaining. On slide 13, it shows how the region is falling behind the very important COG housing target. Do you have a breakdown by jurisdiction?
I don't have it with me. I do have it back at my office. I'd be happy to share it.
I'd love
with
to
you.
see it. I know we're behind, but I'd love to know who do you remember who's doing well?
Of all the jurisdictions, and it's actually borne out in the slide a little bit later that shows the multifamily, the district is actually approving the most permits because the district, among all jurisdictions, has approved the most multifamily units. The challenge, if I can anticipate your question, is, again, the difficulty in producing single-family or larger units regardless of the location.
Do you know how long the average permit approval time is in D.C. and how it compares to other jurisdictions?
I do not.
Has your team ever looked into that?
No, we have not.
Okay.
No.
On slide 15, this is something we talk about all the time, about the need for apartments for families. Obviously, the construction of 2 and 3 bedrooms is relatively flat over the last several years, up and then down, but the ratio is about the same, and 3s are very rare, as you pointed out. You mentioned how you track this across the country. Who does a good job of incentivizing that, and why? Do you know?
I think it varies. There are programs in many, many different cities that really, really target this. I would say the Boston area has some very innovative programs. In the Bay Area, interestingly enough, because they face hugely high housing costs. But again, the scale of what they try to bring to bear versus the solution. There's some very innovative programs in Atlanta, the Atlanta region. And interestingly enough, in Columbus, Ohio, we partner with a number of the COGs from across the country. Columbus, Ohio has just secured, not Microsoft, totally escapes me. It's a smaller version of sort of an Amazon relocation. And so they are trying to get ahead of that type of a
an online retailer. Okay. Do they, and I can talk to you more about this offline, but do they tend to be in generally effective programs commitments by their planning departments and individual negotiations about on a project level, or are they legislation and like sweep more broad-based financial incentives?
It's kind of all of the above, and
Okay.
it varies by jurisdictions. And the more successful ones obviously can leverage dollars where they have the resources. It's partnerships with the business communities. It's being innovative around the edges with new policies and programs. Again. For increasing density and making it more palatable, if you will. So it's a mix of everything.
Okay. And last question is just on the next slide. You show that 90% of multifamily units are within either an activity center or half-mile walk of a high-capacity transit station. That is great.
It's 90% of the new units.
The new ones, I'm sorry, since 2020.
Yeah.
I need to, yeah, that's important. And that's ahead of the target set by the COG board.
Correct.
It's so rare that we see anything above a target we set, so it's really nice to see. I want to highlight that. And before 2020, it was only 60%. I rarely get to ask this question. What's working well? Why are we? And this is across jurisdictions. What's working well and better than before 2020?
It's a very good question. I think when you look at this chart, and for the last couple of years, again, call out, it's very focused, particularly when you look at the 2020 data in the District of Columbia, where there's massive redevelopment, not without challenges, but at much higher densities. But again, it's around the region. There are successes, as you can see, North Bethesda, where there's infill and redevelopment occurring there. I think it is back to success. What does success look like? It's projects that are palatable, acceptable to the region, to communities. You know, it's not just sort of the visual preference survey, if you will, but there's a very famous architectural drawing that we used on many occasions that showed sort of the continuum between a single-family home and a massive high-rise. And what are the opportunities in the middle for duplexes, triplexes, 4x4s, those little courtyard communities that you see on TV shows in Los Angeles types of things. So it's the types of structures, it's innovative opportunities to make them happen, and it's partnerships.
More flexibility.
Yeah, more flexibility,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay. All right, that's very helpful. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And finally, Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for your work and that of your team, and it certainly reflects how important COG is for our work in the region, individually as jurisdictions and collectively as a region. So really appreciate it, and thanks to our colleagues who serve admirably on the COG board. First of all, I think that the snapshot here is we have work to do as a region, we have work to do as a county to be as strong as the sum of our parts. And I think we can all recognize that we have as good of economic bones as any jurisdiction and any region in the country. I think, frankly, we have better economic bones and greater strengths than any other place. I don't know of a single jurisdiction anywhere that wouldn't want what we've got. And the question is, how are we using it and how are we utilizing it and whether or not we're reaching our full potential? And I think certainly there's the OS and N scale that I used to get in elementary school. We're at N for needs improvement, as we always will need improvement perpetually. But there's a lot of positive here too. And I appreciate in particular the significant amount of conversation about housing. I think this council has really focused on housing. I think we've probably done more on addressing our housing challenges than any Montgomery County Council ever. And I think COG generally has focused on housing more than as a region than any previous iteration of COG and COG leadership ever. And so we're finally banding together to recognize that if we want to attract people and we want to continue to build on what we've got, we have to build places for people to live and for people to be. So I think that's a real positive. I'm glad that the 90% of new housing units near high capacity transit and activity centers, I think that's really important. I'm glad that you noted that. I think it's very interesting to see the 60% of where it was before 2020. And so that is a fascinating change. And I think it does speak to some of the idea that if we zone for things that the housing will simply come and that it exists, but it matters where the zoning is. It matters where the housing is, both for reaching our goals and for actually attracting the businesses. But speaking specifically to the 90% being at high capacity transit in activity centers, could you speak a little bit about mobility and connectivity within the region? Because it's one thing to have activity centers and nodes. It's another thing to make sure that those activity centers are connected to one another. And certainly housing is a challenge that we have. I think regional mobility and connectivity is another challenge that we've historically had, this siloed dynamic where we have vibrant communities and activity centers, but they're not necessarily connected to one another. We have these great assets like NIH and FDA, University of Maryland, College Park, and you name it on down the list. But could you just speak a little bit to that and any thoughts and research that you have on that?
Absolutely. If we go back to the late 90s, 1998, the Transportation Planning Board, which Mr. Glass serves on, for the first time they were wrestling with the fact that we had a financially constrained long-range transportation plan. We had lots of visions, lots of projects outlined, but the federal regulations for the first time said you can only build the projects for which you can document there are a flow of funds to build them. I bring that up because that's where we really began this serious conversation about linking land use and transportation. And back to your question, that was where the original map of activity centers evolved. Ms. Michelson was part of the policy committee that helped oversee that at the time, to really guide policymakers like yourselves about where to prioritize future development within the constraints of a financially constrained long-range transportation plan. So fast forward 20 or so years now, we really, the sort of corollary to that, I've been at the Council of Governments for many, many years. When I started my career, about 50 cents out of every dollar in transportation went to expansion, system expansion, new projects. Now, about 80% of every transportation dollar goes to maintenance and repair. So with that sort of constraint, we have to be even more strategic about, to your point, where can we focus future growth? And so that really is how, from sort of the 50,000-foot level, we've leaned in on the need for growth at high-capacity transit stations. The last piece, though, that I would mention, and you alluded to it, is mobility and sort of micro-mobility and access. Some of that, touching around the edges, if you will, are some of the innovative programs that we partner with member local governments on, like our technical assistance programs and others, where we look at sort of those last mile connections, or where can you in fact put in a bike share or a shuttle service to connect a small business to a metro station or an apartment complex to a metro station. So it's, again, as I've said several times, it's really a sort of thinking strategically around the edges in many places.
Appreciate that. If we can get housing right and transportation, mobility right, I think we'll
We're done.
Be doing a lot in the region. Just a final question. Slide 22, you have office lease expiration by class. Do you have that broken down by jurisdiction?
I do not. The source is actually my colleague Terry from George Mason. I can look into acquiring that for you.
Yeah, if there's a way to get that, that would be great. I view the office lease expiration kind of like a professional sports analysis. You have a roster,
Yeah.
and you have to look at when your contracts are ending, and you look at other teams and you look at their rosters and you see when their free agents are going to become available, and you got to figure out how to put together the best roster that you can attract folks to come. I think this is something that we ought to be focusing more on than we have previously, and it's not just within the region. It's broadly major cities. Those 10 like jurisdictions. We should be honing in on that as a region and within the region to make sure that we're growing our tax base. So if you have that, that would be really helpful. I'd appreciate it. And now that I'm thinking about professional sports and spring training, the fact that baseball is back, I'll yield back to you, Mr. President.
Thanks. On a sour note, though, there are some of our local sports teams who we should not be using as guides on how to track free agents and signings. Mr. Desjardins, this is exactly what I was hoping for. That was incredibly informative, and as Councilmember Hucker noted, we need to do this more often because we often look in the mirror here in Montgomery County, but we need to start looking out the window. And this provides some really strong context. One item we did not get to today, and it wasn't more specifically in the presentation, and we can follow up on this later, but what I've been hearing a lot from businesses, we just can't find the workforce. And obviously housing is an important component to that, but there's also a training component, particularly in our life sciences. And I know we're aggressively working on partnering with Montgomery College and the universities of Shady Grove to produce this next generation of workforce in real time to meet some of the need that's out there. But there are numerous jobs available and vacant. They just can't find the workers who have the training and background and experience to be able to fill those positions, which presents an opportunity. And that's why Connected DMV and other organizations like it are so important. Thank you so much,
you, sir.
Mr. Smith. There's some follow-up items there that I'm sure you tracked. And did you want to add anything, Mr. Smith, as we wrap up? Okay. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Appreciate the invitation.
All right, we now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 11. This is an introduction of ZTA 2202. Hold on. Yep, no problem. Introduction of ZTA 2202, density and height limits, parking, biohealth. The lead sponsor is Councilmember Friedson, and co-sponsored by Councilmembers Hucker, Katz, Navarro, Albornoz, and Glass. I'll turn it over to Councilmember Friedson to provide some context.
Thank you, Mr. President. Really appreciate it. It's a good segue from what we were talking about and how to build on our strengths and grow our local economy with this zoning text amendment, which is really building off of the recent work that we have been doing to really strengthen our global leadership in biohealth and life sciences. And also to reflect some of the changing dynamics of that industry, that we need both a thriving suburban bio option and emerging urban bio opportunities. And urban settings are different for biohealth facilities, for labs, and we need to make sure that we have zoning that is appropriate to be able to attract that type of biohealth industry here in Montgomery County. As we talk about growing our economy, bringing good jobs to county residents, we have to double down on our strengths. We talked a lot today about our challenges, but more than our problems, I think we have tremendous possibilities in Montgomery County and certainly in the region. And I think biohealth is really a key part of that. This really does build on 2109, the zoning text amendment passed by this council, which accelerated regulatory review process from 600 days to 160 days, dramatically improving the time it would take for large biohealth and life sciences facilities to locate and expand here in Montgomery County. And as we think about urban context, due to the unique engineering and mechanical storage challenges that come with the development and expansion of biohealth buildings and labs in more urban settings, we need to provide biohealth facilities with more flexibility with regard to height and density and other zoning dynamics. So appreciate your co-sponsorship along with Councilmember Hucker, Katz, Navarro, and Council Vice President Glass. Look forward to moving this through the process. I want to particularly thank Ms. Nadeau for an extensive amount of work. These are not easy issues between the zoning code and biohealth lab dynamics. It is incredibly nuanced, incredibly complicated, but I just appreciate your professionalism. Look forward to continuing to work through it. Look forward to working with colleagues to double down on what is our core strength, to continue the bold vision that we have set forth in order to expand and grow one of our fast growing and great strengths in the Montgomery County economy related to biohealth and life sciences. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Friedson. Councilmember Reamer.
Good. Thank you, Councilmember Friedson, for drafting this, and I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thanks.
Great. Well, Ms. Nadeau, thank you for that work. And the first public hearing on this will be May 10th to allow us the sufficient runway to get through the budget process this year, but we look forward to taking that up later this spring. Thank you so much. That bill is now introduced. We now move on to item number 12, which is legislative session day number 8 continued. Item A is Bill 522, Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors membership. Lead sponsor is the council president at the request of the county executive. This is being staffed by Ms. Wellens, and the public hearing is scheduled for April 19th, 2022. Ms. Wellens, can you provide a little bit of background on this?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. This bill was requested by the county executive, and I believe that the MCEDC requested it of the county executive. And this bill would expand and alter the membership of the Economic Development Corporation. Specifically, I believe it increases the membership by 2 members, and it also attempts to integrate some more continuity in the board by requiring that the immediate past chair of the board, as well as the chief executive officer of the county's workforce development organization, serve as ex officio non-voting members of the board.
Great. So that bill is now introduced. Next is item number B, which is expedited bill 622, Recreation, Montgomery County Sports Commission, as established. Lead sponsor is myself, so I can give a little bit of background on this. So, and I've spoken to most of my colleagues about this, but when you look at the participation rates by activity across the board, if you collectively add all of our sports together here in Montgomery County, everything else pretty much pales in comparison. And as the former director of the Recreation Department, I can speak in the first person about some of the challenges that we have in having sports equity across our entire community. And the Office of Legislative Oversight conducted an analysis prior to the pandemic that looked at sports participation, particularly youth sports participation across the county, and what it found was we have entire communities where youth sports participation is significantly lower than in more affluent parts of our county. And it's not that those kids aren't interested in playing sports. It's that mom and dad often don't have the time to be able to volunteer and coach. They don't have access to the same level of transportation. The fees to participate in many of these leagues and clubs and select programs are often very high. And there is a missing middle in sports in our community, and this is a problem across the entire country. And so, and sports played a significant role in my development in life, as it has for many of my colleagues and many of folks in the community. And with regards to health and wellness and leadership development, it just plays such a vital role. And correspondingly, Councilmember Reamer had requested an analysis by the Office of Legislative Oversight on sports participation among girls. And what that found was that the gaps were even larger. And so we don't have an organizing body in the county that's looking at the whole picture, that's trying to figure out where the holes are and make recommendations on how to fill those holes. And we also don't have an organizing body that can advise us as legislators and the county executive on these matters. And this came up very significantly during the pandemic when our public health officers were trying their best to meet with individual sports and make recommendations on face mask requirements and policy requirements, and it ended up frustrating a lot of people. And so an entity like this, I think, will go a long way in, this is an intended pun, leveling the playing field, which I think will really be important. So this would be a 23-member body. We selected a large number so that we can have as many sports represented. And we also, and maybe Michael Jordan's my favorite basketball player, and his number is 23. But I digress. But the other aspect of this that I think is important is that it involves our recreation department, who will help staff this. And I've had many conversations with Director Riley. They're very excited to engage in the development of this commission. And I know we're going to get some super talented people applying for it. So I think for all those reasons and more, I'm moving this forward today. This, like other bills, we will wait until we get through more of the budget process to be able to take this up, but wanted to plant a flag now and get this going. So with that, I have a number of colleagues who have requested to speak. I've got Councilmember Friedson, followed by Councilmember Katz, then Councilmember Jawando, and then Councilmember Reamer. Councilmember Friedson.
Well, thank you for this, and I know this has been a passion project for you for some time. We've talked quite a bit about it, and a number of us have benefited from growing up in the county and participating in youth sports here, not just about athletic prowess, but also about leadership skills and social skills and so many other assets that sports do. And you worked a lot on the Montgomery County Sports Hall of Fame, which is about the best of the best. But we need for all of the rest, like me, who we're never going to make it into the Sports Hall of Fame, but we need to be providing enriching programming for them. And the fact that the Montgomery County Department of Rec, which you have a little bit of familiarity with from what I understand, will formally participate, I think will really raise it to a different level. So I am excited about this. I really appreciate your work on it. I would like to be listed as a co-sponsor and really appreciate you putting it forward, and think that it dovetails very nicely with the other work that we did earlier in this meeting, talking about access to youth sports for girls and for everybody in our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Katz.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I agree. I would also like to be listed as a co-sponsor. And I would hope that one of the things that they look at is how we can develop a nonprofit foundation to help pay for some of these fees. I think there would be many, many community members that would step forward and help in that situation.
Thank you. I agree. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you, Councilmember Rabinaz. I'm glad you're introducing this. As you know, we've discussed it's something that I care about a lot as well, and would love to be added as a co-sponsor. And I'm excited that along with the Hall of Fame, along with some of the reports we have done, there'll be a home for all these recommendations, and some place that we can come back to and assess all the many things, from fields and access to fees, as Councilmember. So it's a whole range of things that we talk about ad hoc, but this will be a great place to get ongoing recommendations. So would love to be added and excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Reamer.
This is great. I'm so glad you've done this, and I really appreciate your patient work on this. I know you've been working on it for some time as you've focused on sports for your time at the council, and it's just so needed. We need a home for the sports community to be together, to work on planning together, and to have a voice before our body. There's so many examples, but one that's been on my mind is the dearth of lighted fields in Montgomery County. We just don't have that many fields that have lights, and so in late fall and early spring, it's hard for teams to get access to fields. I think if you had a sports commission all these years, they would have saying, we need more lighted fields, and the county might have done something about that. So there's just a lot of examples of where we don't have strong enough advocacy around sports as a unified voice, and I think this commission could really make a big difference. So thanks for bringing it together, and I'd like to be a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Hucker, followed by Councilmember Navarro, and then Council Vice President Glass.
It's great initiative. Thank you for your leadership on this. Agree with Councilmember Katz, and also would add to the list that hopefully they could look into the sharing of sports equipment, because there's good work being done in that field as well. So hoping to be added as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Navarro.
Yes, add me as well. I think that I appreciate so much your expertise in this space. I know that, as has been mentioned, there have been so many instances when all of these issues have bubbled up, and everyone has tried so hard to address, especially the issues around equity for so many communities, as you mentioned. And sometimes these sports are not readily available for all those barriers. So the fact that this will be a body that would look into all of that aligns so nicely with everything we have discussed today, as a matter of fact. So thank you so much, and please add me as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Council Vice President Glass.
Mr. President, I'd like to join your team and be listed as a co-sponsor.
Love it. Love it. All right, we're going to score a goal together, everybody. All right, thank you. So that bill is now officially introduced as well, which takes us to bills for call of bills for final reading. The first is Bill 4621, Environmental Sustainability Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy Program with amendments. The Transportation Environment Committee recommends enactment with amendments. Councilmember Hucker, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bill 4621 amends the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy, or CPACE program. As a reminder, the CPACE program helps finance commercial clean energy projects. The way it works, of course, it allows private capital providers to provide property owners with financing for qualifying projects, and then to collect the repayment through on the property tax bill annually or semi-annually with surcharges. So this bill will amend the current CPACE law by adding more flexibility, removing an overly prescriptive list of measures, and aligning with recent state legislation, which was designed to allow for a broader inclusion of climate-related improvements by building owners. The committee amended the bill in a couple ways. We wanted to require applicants to use best efforts to contract with local, small, and minority-owned businesses, and the committee supported an amendment to require the Green Bank to include in its annual report details about the outreach and education efforts that they're making to encourage and disseminate information about minority business to commercial building owners for energy-related projects. So with those two amendments, the T&E committee unanimously recommends the enactment of Bill 4621.
Terrific. Ms. McCartney Green, it's good to see you in person. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
Did I do that right? I did.
Yes.
You did.
Thank you. No, I think Councilmember Hooker summarized that very well.
Perfect. I don't see any comments from colleagues going once, going twice. This is a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Katz.
Yes.
Mr. Katz votes yes. Mr. Giwando.
Yes.
Mr. Giwando votes yes. Mr. Reamer.
Yes.
Mr. Reamer votes yes. Mr. Hooker.
Yes.
Mr. Hooker votes yes. Ms. Navarro. Yes. Ms. Navarro votes yes. Mr. Rice is absent. Mr. Friedson.
Yes.
Mr. Friedson votes yes. Mr. Glass.
Yes.
Mr. Glass votes yes. Mr. Albornoz.
Yes.
Mr. Albornoz votes yes.
All right, let the record show that passed unanimously. That moves us on to item number B, which is general provision, county symbols, county tree established. Ms. Nadeau, could you give you a minute to get set up? If you could walk us through this item.
Okay, so Bill 4821, County Symbols, County Tree. Sorry, rearrange. So this was introduced by the council president at the request of the county executive. So as background, I have some photos for you today. So the current county bird is the robin, and the current county blossom is the dogwood. And this bill would make the county tree the black tupelo. So this tree is also known as the black gum, sour gum, Pepperidge, Tupelo, and Tupelo gum. So we received an RESJ impact statement as well as a fiscal impact statement. And it's not expected to have any impact on county revenues or expenditures because it won't use any county resources to designate the tree. And there's also little to no impact on racial equity or social justice, since again, not committing any actual county resources. So a public hearing was held in January. There was a speaker in support. We've also received one letter in support and one letter in opposition, which I will address in a moment. So the Department of Environment actually went through a environmental protection, went through a pretty thorough process for picking this tree. They worked with the Forest Conservation Advisory Committee. Discussions began in October 2020. First, they identified criteria for evaluating a potential species. Then they met with various organizations, and including parks, planning, the Montgomery County Forestry Board, as well as the municipalities. They came up with a list of about 13 species were recommended throughout that process, and the top 3 candidates were the black tupelo, American sycamore, and the white oak. Then DEP presented 2 survey questions to the public during Chesapeake Awareness Week on those top three species, and that was shared on all social media platforms. They received 57 responses, and the FCAC unanimously recommended the black tupelo. As noted, we did receive one letter in opposition that asked for the Goshen elm to be selected instead. There's actually a Goshen Elm Park, and one of the reasons was that the Goshen Elm Conservation Park is actually near a historic African American community. I reached out to DEP about this, and the Goshen elm, while is actually a type of white elm, but it's on Goshen Street, so they're all named Goshen elms. Unfortunately, it is not a tree that is native to the area. So, council staff recommends approval of the black tupelo as our county tree. Again, it was a rigorous process. It included that it grows about a foot each year in almost any condition, which is important for climate change. The specific tree, actually, there's one in Silver Spring that's on a list as a champion tree, which are the largest trees of their species. It is 5.5 feet wide and 90 feet tall, again, in Silver Spring. It has, as you can see, beautiful fall colors. It also has a very good winter profile. I'm sorry, I don't have a picture of that up there for you. It has a long life. Wildlife really enjoy their small cherry-like seeds. And it's good for both homes and buildings and makes an excellent street tree as long as it's away from overhead wires.
Thank you, Ms. Nadeau. You learn something new every 5 seconds in this job. So this is a beautiful tree, and I appreciate the background and context for the issue brought forth in opposition. I don't see any comments from colleagues. Councilmember Reamer.
You persuaded me. I was sort of ambivalent about the tupelo. I thought there might be trees that we would all know better that might be more fitting, but I really appreciate your presentation, and I'm compelled. It's great. It's a good selection.
I agree. This requires a motion. Can I get a motion? Can I get a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Second. And now this is a roll call vote. So, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Katz.
Yes.
Mr. Katz votes yes. Mr. Giwando.
Yes.
Mr. Giwando votes yes. Mr. Reamer.
Yes.
Mr. Reamer votes yes. Mr. Hucker. Yes. Mr. Hucker votes yes. Ms. Navarro. Yes. Ms. Navarro votes yes. Mr. Rice is absent. Mr. Friedson.
Yes.
Mr. Friedson votes yes. Mr. Glass.
Yes.
Mr. Glass votes yes. Mr. Albornoz.
Yes.
Mr. Albornoz votes yes.
All right. Let the record show that passed unanimously. The county's official tree is now the black tupelo. All right. So that is it for today. Thank you all very much. This has been a great first session in person. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, although I think that went smoother than I thought it was going to. So with that, everyone, we are adjourned.
February 2022.